Good day, everyone. Hi, I'm Steven, Product Manager, Global Payments. So I'm working for the past 9 years in the payment industry. So I know a little bit about payments. Today, I want to give you a little bit introduction on open banking. So let's get into it. People are talking about open banking everywhere. You see it in conferences. It's really a buzzword nowadays, but it's actually really difficult to make it tangible. So a question to yourself, what do you know about open banking? Are you able to connect the dots towards your business? And I'm here to help you to give an understanding on the solution, what open banking can bring in on the table. But let's start off where open banking actually started within Europe. So it came out of the regulation of PSD2 back in November 2019. So within PSD2, there are actually 4 roles identified. So first role is account service, payment service provider. Basically what that means is a consumer bank account. So think about ING, Wells Fargo's, BNP, and so on. The second role is a third-party provider, also known as a TPP, technical integrator. So these parties are actually integrating by using access to account open banking API, connecting directly towards the consumer banks. So they can actually facilitate 2 roles. So one of the role is AISP, Account Information Service Provider. So basically what that means is the TPP is able to get consumer financial data going back to 90 days. So it's really literally your bank statement. So the TPP understands what's the current balance, when your salary comes in on your bank account, but also all the payment behavior you're doing on your bank account. So with this technology, you're able to think in innovation. Let's take an example on direct debits. So you can finally now optimize the direct debit conversion rate. So now you know when the salary actually comes in. So you know when to trigger the direct debit. But also predicting the consumer behavior, what they're going to buy. So this is really useful information for merchants such as you. The second role is the PISP, Payment Initiation Service Provider. Basically what that means is the existing products out there is similar to Trustly, the Ideal, to Sofort/Klarna. So now actually the TPP is able to facilitate the same thing of this real-time bank transfer players. They can actually debit a consumer account. So with Ingenico, we want to operate in the full chain. So as I mentioned, PSD2 is actually within Europe where they knew about open banking, but open banking is already beyond Europe. It's actually a global initiative. So you see already in Latin America, Brazil, PIX already mandated to open up their bank interfaces back in 3 weeks ago. United States, same thing. And Singapore is already mandated 2 years ago. So it actually shows that open banking is not only in Europe, but I'm actually particularly keen to understand how PIX in Brazil will solve with open banking the installments where the domestic cards is actually really strong. So really curious to see how that will adopt. So maybe good to highlight is that if you're well acquainted of the Europe regulation, so you know SEPA. So SEPA was actually also created by the European Union, and there they actually created the FAO standard, where every banks could follow. But with PSD2 open banking, there is no standard. So all the consumer banks in Europe, yes, there are more than 5,000 banks in Europe, have their own API specs. So of course, there are initiatives within Europe trying to standardize that, such as the Berlin Group, STAT, but we're not there yet. So with Ingenico, we're going to consolidate all the banks with a single point of integration. So open banking is coming. It has been predicted by Accenture in 2026. A quarter of a transaction in Europe will be open banking transaction. So that means it will cannibalize the existing card flows in the countries, but also digital wallets, real-time bank transfers, and so on. So open banking will really disrupt the payment industry. So open banking, it's a new initiative. So we already understand that the adoption rate is really low on open banking. But over time, it will adopt. So who are the early adopters within Europe? We believe that the countries where online banking solutions are being used by many consumers, those are the earliest adopters. So thinking countries as Norway, so basically the Nordics, the Netherlands, UK, and so on. So you have to understand that open banking, the strong customer authentication, is always done at the bank side. So the stronger the banking infrastructure, making it easy for the consumer to authenticate, these are the countries where open banking will be successful. So you as a client, so as I mentioned, consumer adoption rate is low. So how can you influence that as a client and a merchant? So we have 4 pillars. So one of the pillar is control. So if you're able to give the control to consumer, so basically giving them the ability to turn off a service at any given time, you will immediately build that trust with the consumer. Also giving that transparency. So when the debit's actually been debited from the consumer account, you just give a notification directly towards the consumer. But also when the financial data, or what part of the financial data have been retrieved by the TPP, you need to present that towards the consumer by notifications and so on. So basically, transparency is the key. And you as a merchant, you can always incentivize the consumer. So in order to stimulate the adoption rate on open banking, so think about loyalty points and also coupons, discounts, and so on. And on foremost, and the last pillar, regulation. So within Europe, we're also tremendously thinking of data protection. That's why we realized GDPR. And now with PSD2, where you can actually debit the consumer account, it goes hand to hand to protect the consumer with their financial data from the TPPs. So the data is not being misused. So these are the 4 pillars where you as a merchant can influence the consumer behavior. So what are we actually trying to achieve with open banking at Ingenico? So Ingenico was within the payment industry for the past 30 years. This time, we want to give our merchants the opportunity to create their own payment method in order to promote the brand towards the consumer, in order to build the trust throughout the whole payment funnel. So we want to do this on the open banking rails. So giving access to the unique features such as global reach, instant settlement notification, consolidated UX. So that means it doesn't matter if you're a consumer in France or in Poland, the user experience up until selection of the consumer account is the same. So it will create less friction. And also, it's a competitive price. Our solution will have a pricing competing directly against schemes and also the existing real-time bank transfers out there. So how will it actually look like? So this is a mock-up. We took a sample on booking. So the consumer actually filled in all the consumer details. You see the booking button there. And this is an open banking button branded by booking. So the consumer actually completes the booking. A pop-up follows. A consumer banks are presented depending on the countries where they are in. So in this case, it's in United Kingdom. So the consumer actually selects their consumer bank. So they log in. So this is a browser-based solution. So this can be also redirected towards a mobile app in order to log in. So let's take this use case. The consumer is actually logging in with their ID and filling in their password. They select the debit account they want to have debited, and they agree with the terms. So this is actually the consent from open banking, where the consumer needs to grant in order to debit their consumer account. And this consent is actually active for 90 days, which means you as a merchant can debit the consumer account continuously for 90 days until the reauthorization. So in this case, the consumer receives a SMS code on their mobile device. They fill in the TON code as known, and they confirm the payment. And the payment is done. So it looks actually similar to the real-time banking transfer products out there, but it's on the open banking rails. So it's cheaper, it's slick from a UX, you're able to consolidate. So that's why open banking, we believe it's a new future of payment. So within the development team, we're already thinking of features, especially from the payment side, because that's where we are really strong in. So what we want to do is to give access towards our merchant a global reach, a QR code. So basically, you're able to scan the QR code already at the consumer bank selection page, so that you're skipping all the payment steps later on in order to stimulate the conversion rate. You will have your own portal to handle your UX. Refunds, it's one click, so that means we are capturing account details of the consumer already in the payments, and the instant settlement notification. So we're able to guarantee 100% that the funds will be sent to you, which is not possible at the current products such as Sofort and Trustly. So we're also going to offer a recurring service and there's 1 cent account validation. So looking ahead, we want to also develop 0 cent validation and also consumer credit score. Since we actually understand the balance of a consumer account, we're also able to set a credit score, so you're able to send out the goods in an earlier state. So you can think of buy now, pay later solutions. But also as a nice feature coming from the AISP side is consumer logging with open banking. So with this technology or feature, a consumer is able to log in with open banking. So they don't have to use their login and password on a merchant website. They just see an open banking button, they click on it, and they automatically log in. But also think about, you can store the consumer data, shipping details, so you can actually one-click it towards the whole funnel in order to stimulate, again, the conversion rate of open banking. So what are the features which you like to see in open banking? So I already presented some points. But I would like to understand from you, your end, what feature you want to see on open banking, so that we can help you to realize a solution, what's strong for you on the market. Thank you. So if you have any questions on open banking, just reach out to me and I will help you to guide you towards the open banking regulation. Just bear in mind, it's an opportunity and it will help you to grow your business.